What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Tuesday Track Talk podcast, episode number 5. My name is Kellen. I'm your host, the Jackman, for the week.
I am your gas man, all things gas, Cameron.
And I'm your tire changer. I'm Cam.
So we got quite the episode for you guys this week. Gonna kind of review the asphalt world. It was fairly quiet on the dirt side this weekend. And then we're gonna go look at the Cup and review the Winchester 400 with the ASA Stars National Tour. But before we get into this really quick, make sure you got that subscribe button clicked. You got your bell turned on for your notifications. So when any content goes out, you're the first to know. So get that all situated and then we'll get rocking and rolling here. So fellas, what do we got on the docket? What do we know since we've been together last?
Well, we were together last, actually, this past weekend. We
True.
we got rowdy, we'll say that. Really got the stones turning, but they also got a little alcohol soaked, we'll call it.
Understatement.
Yeah, nothing new. Arms recovered from the amount of darts we played, so
that dartboard full of quarters.
I was about to say, do you have any quarters left?
A couple dollars. That's about it.
But yeah, outside of that, nothing new. I don't want to get going on the Badgers, but
It's time to lock it up.
Hey, you're the one that's saying that we're going to run the table with Ohio State.
Look, okay. So I'm blindly optimistic. Like
hard homers.
Yeah, we're going to run the table. And I'm sick of talking to people that are like, yeah, season's over, throw it away, whatever. No, we're going to run the table and everything's going to be just fine. And we're going to get to the first week in December and we're going to be in the Big Ten Championship because Iowa's going to lose 2 games yet and it's all going to be fine.
Yeah,
look, this backup quarterback's going to be a stud. Everything I'm reading about him, I watched his 8-minute interview last night. I listened to him talk for 8 minutes. I'm in. So in. So, yeah. Old Cuzzy, number 2, he's gonna sling around. He can throw the pigskin around. So we're gonna be just fine. Offense took 6 weeks to figure it out. But hey. Ski.
Oh, there it is.
The
I just lost a brain cell.
Oh, I know. Side note. Did anybody watch that Giants game the other night?
Ooh.
No.
There was like at one point I was watching and I texted you. Like I think I texted you and said, "Could one more Giant guy get hurt?" It was literally like there was like 4 straight
guys were dropping.
It was a wreck fest on a football field.
Oh, it was bad. It was really bad. But all right, well, should we go ahead and jump into this one and get rock and roll on some racing content here?
Heck yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so we'll touch on a little bit of the shorter conversation. We'll talk dirt, kind of getting started here. Fairly quiet weekend on the national tour side for the dirt. You got Lucas Oil who's off. Obviously they're getting ready for the Dirt Track World Championships, which we'll discuss here later on with our race picks. World of Outlaws late models rained out, both features for both nights. They were down south, rained out, so really nothing going on for them. But the one race that we did get to see or did run was the World Outlaw Sprint Cars. They ran at Lakeside on Saturday night. So other than that, I mean, it really was pretty quiet. But Donnie Schatz won that feature. So the old wily veteran.
And he stole it too.
Yeah.
David Gravel, he led the majority of the race, 16 laps, and got caught up in some lap traffic. And old Donnie Schatz he started second, fell back a little bit, came back up from 6th, just weaved his way through the lap traffic, and he stole it out of Gravel's feet. There at the end of the race. He got a mid-race caution too that bundled back up and was able to take advantage of starting on the inside there.
Yeah. I was kind of looking at some of the social media stuff, and some people were like, "Ooh, is Donnie Schatz kind of on the decline?" Coincidentally, the rumbling
Yep.
happened, and the dude shows up.
Oh,
So that was
Chris, he did the same thing for the Kings Royal. I mean, everybody maybe what do you want most recently? He was kind of guys. Everybody was saying he was kind of on that decline. Then what does he go do? He wins the most prestigious race on the year.
but
I was gonna
that
say I was gonna say that too. He's been a little bit I want to say he's been not like on a hot seat, but I feel like people have been kind of,
there's an expectation
right
there.
writing him off a little bit. Yeah, the expectation's definitely lowered from what it's been. But yeah, I was just gonna say we did this earlier this year when that stuff like that happens, and then what does he do? Yeah, hold my beer. I'll just go win the most prestigious sprint car race
Yeah.
there is.
Hey, I'm still here.
Yeah. So
Little reality check for everybody.
Yep.
So that was really, I mean, that was really the only, and even the sprint cars on Friday night got rained out. So
It's a
it
quiet
was,
weekend.
yeah, quiet weekend for the dirt side. So Donnie Schatz, your big national tour dirt winner for the weekend. So kind of a recap on everything dirt there for you. So let's kind of dive into, we'll hop over to the asphalt. We'll go right to the top. Let's talk about the cup race. This past weekend with Larson getting it done over Bell, who gave it a hell of a run there at the end to try to get it done. What were you guys' initial reactions on the race itself, or the racing itself, I should say?
Good Michigan, or sorry, not Michigan. Vegas race. Yeah, multi lanes restarts were obviously havoc. Everybody was kind of keeping an eye on that playoff bubble too. Nothing that blew it out of the water, but nothing nothing down about it either. I kind of thought.
no, I think can't say it much better than that. Wasn't anything crazy that happened, but uh yeah, those restarts there when they got going and we're going four wide down the back stretch, that's everybody's on the edge of their seat waiting for the big one to happen when we're going four wide down the back stretch. But luckily for the most part, the boys played nice. Everybody kept it clean there, and yeah, it was a good race. And that finish was obviously, as with racing all the time, Bell needed just one more lap.
Oh,
I
And
I think if Bell hammers on it one lap sooner, I think he gets the job done.
yeah, that's what he was saying too, is that he maybe pulled the trigger a little too late on that. And I
Yeah.
thought he had a chance there coming off of four if he'd have really just dove down to that bottom and run that apron, kind of let
Yeah.
Larson follow him down. I would have thought he kind of had a chance there. And he got caught behind Larson and tapped him. And right when he tapped him, he knew he was done. He
Yeah.
pushed all that momentum to him and was done.
Yep. So kind of another storyline to go along with this race this previous weekend was obviously a lot has to be said about the old number 12 car. Yeah, we're not gonna go because he's gonna need some breath mints or mouthwash for this conversation because okay, so news comes out, he's got a shock issue, disqualification, finishes dead last. Okay, yep, fine, all well. Yeah, NASCAR turns around and says, "Oh, timeout, just kidding." Gives him his finish position back. So he goes from what did they say, 56 below the cut line to now 17 below the cut line.
Yep.
I mean, 56 must win. 17, is that a must win situation for him or no?
I mean, with the tracks that are coming up, I still think so. It's the performance. I mean, it's, obviously I'm not trying to bash Ryan. He's my guy, but the Fords as a whole just haven't been performing. And these next two tracks, I mean, maybe Martinsville, but he's short tracks. He's just kind of there. He hasn't really been able to push to that top three, two first position type of thing. And it's just, I think he's got to win it if he's going to have any chance of getting in, or he's going to need a lot of help.
True. True.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, you're like, oh, is it must-win territory? And putting the two together, shock disqualification, rescinded penalty. I'm sitting over here going, it don't change anything.
Yeah.
He's got to win. And crazy shit happens in racing, but like you said, Fords have had a brutal year, which I shouldn't say brutal, but like
Under par.
under par. And it's weird. Like the Penske team is definitely under par, but then you got the two car team, RFK,
yeah.
who's could argue they've exceeded expectations for. Well, maybe you guys don't think so, but I think they've exceeded expectations for this year.
Yeah.
For those two, which is just kind of an interesting dynamic. You know, you would have thought it would have been the other way, that Penske would have been
Yeah, the
hammer
dominant team
and
again in the Ford camp.
Yeah, you would have thought those guys would have been the hammers in the Ford camp, and then RFK would have been saying, "Hey, give us some of your tips," but just a weird season.
Yeah.
Then we don't even need to talk about Stuart Haas, because
Yeah, it's just
talking
a
about
tough,
them, yeah,
tough year.
us talking about them would be about the most relevant they've been all year. So,
Yikes. They just have
outside of Kevin Harvick making the playoffs, that was like that's like been Stuart Haas's highlight of the year.
Yeah,
and he got bounced right away. So it was an In-N-Out burger. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. So when you look at it now, so let's go ahead and kind of review the points. So obviously Larson, your winner, has locked himself into the final four. William Byron is 9 above, Hamlin +2, Truex +2, Bell -2, Reddick -16, Blaney -17, and the RFK car of Buescher is -23. So, that 3-4 car race there with William Byron down to even ballot -2, that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on there, just because they are bunched up so tight together.
Yeah.
We're talking singular positions. If we don't have one of those guys winning races to lock himself in the final
one
four.
bad pit stop could flip the entire script.
One bad pit stop, one speeding penalty.
Yep.
And on the Vegas race, 2 points in that little ski. Remember who picked Kyle Larson to get the job done?
Yeah.
Yeah, tune in last week's episode. Check out the last 5 minutes of the episode and see who picked Larson to get the job done. So, let's go.
Whatever.
But hey, one of the unnoticed stories that I think that should be talked about is Martin Truex Jr.
He's back in the plus, baby.
That is somebody who, whatever their strategy was early in the race, he saved his hind end the way he raced towards the end. I mean, when you're literally watching him pass cars and he's going from below the cut line to above the cut line, I don't know what the strategy was there and why they did it, but
my guy,
that was an unnoticed story. I don't know what he drove it to. I forgot where he finished.
He finished 9th.
Yeah, I just remember him coming on. He was running like 12th, and they asked him how his car is, and he just said, "I needed to go green." Yep. And a story not talked about it, but for the position he was in most of the day, boy, did he drive his rear end off to finish in the top 10 and be sitting at +2. Because it could have been a heck of a lot worse for most of the day. He couldn't get any track position the entire day.
No. None at all, actually.
He was a boulder
unfortunately,
after he stayed out. He was a boulder. Cars just driving around him, and I don't know what. Do you guys know the strategy? What?
Grab it here and
He was
disappear.
It's one thing. It's one thing if you do something odd and you got some people that do it with you. No, solo mission. Like,
Grab a
yeah.
gear and disappear.
yeah, for real. The wrong way, potentially.
Yeah.
In certain scenarios, but
he saved his day. That third stage, he drove his tail off and
big time.
Oh, yeah, we could be having a completely different conversation right now if he were to be back there. And, he'd probably be, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but 7 points under, 7, 8 points under if he
Yep.
would have finished where he was at. And,
Nope.
we'd be having a completely different conversation, especially going into Homestead next week. I mean, that definitely helps him out going to that and Martinsville after that. So,
Yeah, and we'll preview that race too, but he ran well there last year at Homestead, and he always finds a way to run well at Martinsville too. So we're down, but we're not out, boys.
yeah.
We're in it yet. So
Um,
any other storylines for the cup race for this weekend?
Well, I do want to touch on the penalty a little bit before we get into that. I mean, Kyle Busch, a little bit of rejuvenance there too, finished in P3, kind of disappeared for a little bit and didn't lead any laps, but he stayed up front. He finished third. Brad K, we were just talking about RFK. He finished fourth, led some laps as well. So, I mean, two guys. I think Brad's got one more opportunity to maybe win a race, and that's going to be Homestead, but I just don't think he's going to pull it off. And I think that's going to be underwhelming on his part, but he's got to be happy with where the team's at.
True. I think when you look at it, they've got a lot of really good data. When you look at that program, like I think he expected to win races, but I think you'd be surprised to say that he would thought going into the year that Buescher would have the success he did.
No,
I know they talk
Yep.
very highly of him, but I just think when you look at the traditional powerhouses of race or NASCAR, I should say, I didn't think we would be saying that they'd be running better than Penske and Stewart-Haas when you look at it a year or two ago. Like, I think that's been a pleasant surprise, even though he's probably beaten himself up not winning a race yet.
I would have, if you would have asked me about it in the year, I would have said 3 wins, Keselowski, 2, Buescher 1.
Yep, I'd have flipped it for sure.
Yep, that's how I would have put it. And nope, then Buescher steals pretty much all 3 away. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, Keselowski's definitely run his fair share of race. I mean, Christ, he pushed Buescher to the wind at Daytona for crying out loud. So he's there in the mix. There's no doubt about that. He's almost, I guarantee he's going to probably celebrate that win just as much as his first career win, just because it's that first win as the owner.
Yep. I would agree. It's got a different feel. Yeah, it's got a different feel to it. It's when you see you're going in with them, that especially with that next gen car and that new move, that it's going to feel like a first win all over again.
Yep.
That's a very good point.
So,
other than that,
on the penalty aspect, I mean, I was definitely surprised to see it rescinded to start off with. 'Cause I mean, that's damn near unheard of, especially without an appeal. Like, there was no appeal process heard or anything like that. It was, nope, we made a mistake. Blaney gets a spot back, all that. And I read there's a guy on Twitter, his name is Bozzy. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name, but he's one of the tech savvier guys. Good follow if you're looking to get a little more tech savvy with the NASCAR side of things. He was kind of explaining how the whole inspection process of those shocks go. And he was kind of thinking that maybe some debris from other shocks got caught up in the measuring device, and that's what threw the reading off. And then when they saw that, that particular measuring device had debris in it, it was like, well, we can't really trust that we got an accurate reading out of it. Rescinded Blaney's penalty because of that, on just cause type of thing. The way it was kind of explained was that Blaney was on that very, very fine line, and that little piece of debris pushed him over, but there's no justification to still keep that penalty regardless type of thing.
Interesting.
So that's what the thought was with it. I know a bunch of NASCAR officials popped up on various media aspects this week, and I have yet to listen to them, and that's a shame on me, but I'm sure they probably went a little more in depth on that too. So it was 100% on NASCAR, and they're obviously with them, they're looking into how to make sure it's more accurate and don't have a mistake like that again in the future.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess good on NASCAR too.
Yeah.
For taking ownership of it and just being like, yep, you don't need an appeal.
Yep.
But again, just as long as the standard is the standard, and
True.
we come across this again,
maybe
So
we're going
more,
to we're going to take a second reading again to make sure that it is right before we make a decision and put something out, you know?
and check the
Yeah.
equipment to make sure that it's reading properly to boot too.
True. Yep.
Yeah.
Check themselves, check the springs and check themselves as well. I hear you.
Yep. I mean, how many times you hear a car that, you know, hits the scales, they push them back off, recalibrate the scales to make sure something wasn't off there, or, you know, hey, you know, this little bit of debris piled up, you know, whatever the case may be. They, you know, it's always, they give you a few chances to get through before they make the, you know, judgment call type of thing. But
Yeah. For sure.
last thing on the cup race, and we kind of touched on it already, but Christopher Bell, I mean,
Oh, the dude.
talk about just a whirlwind. I mean, of emotions. Like, you're in the car and you're going for a win to lock yourself into the championship 4, and he's got the car to do it. Waited one lap too long, and
That's to lock yourself in to run for a championship. You don't have to worry about the next 2 weeks.
no,
yeah, and guess what? Now here we're sitting
Now he's sweating bullets. Yep.
Mhm.
the next 2 weeks.
Very similar to where he was at last year.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's the
state of mind.
state of mind, and
Yep.
the two opposite ends of the spectrum of what you deal with, the emotions there. You go from elbows up, racing for a win, lock yourself into a championship 4, to not being able to get the job done, to getting out of the car, and it's like,
I screwed up.
Get to go fight for my life again for the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Like,
But also kudos too for, you know, not pulling those, well, I had to do what I had to do type of moves, which, you know, we may have saw a little bit of that this weekend, but you know, he could have very easily, you know, knocked Larson out of the way a little bit, nudged him, spun him
Roughed him up. Yeah.
to get that win. And nope, he wanted to do it the right way. And yeah, he even said it too. He's like, I'm not that type of racer. I've just missed my opportunity.
Yeah.
and I think too, which Kyle Larson mentioned it too, just the professionalism, and speaks volumes to the type of racer that Christopher Bell is. And he even said he's one of the best wheelmen there are out there, and was wishing Joe Gibbs would let him do the things that he gets to do, because Christopher Bell's big on the dirt scene too. So
Yeah.
and I think it's good on Bell's part too, because, you know, we're still sitting here, and Larson, I don't think, has got Denny, so to speak, back for what he thinks, or the way he was raced earlier this year.
He's got something to say yet.
So, like,
that can get the 20 car through.
well, I'm not saying it's going to get the 20 car through, but these guys obviously they keep a bank in their mind of, hey, am I even with this guy? Are we cool? Or do I owe him one? And all these NASCAR guys do it. And I'm sure if you ask somebody, hey, who are the top 3 guys that you owe one? And they'd be able to,
Yep.
Who's top 3?
And know why they're on that list.
Yep. And so for C-Bell, I mean, doing it the right way, not wrecking them, you know, whatever. I think that'll go to just
for sure.
professional respect. Those two are two of the best of the business. Like they're just going to keep putting on a good show and hopefully doing it the right way.
And I didn't say directly with the idea that Larson's going to wreck Hamlin to let Bell get in, but
he might pull Bell a favor here and there.
He's gonna race if he has an idea of if Bell's around him and Hamlin's around him, he's gonna race the 11 a little bit differently than he races the 20, and that's gonna come at the benefit of the 20, without a doubt. So
it's gonna be like Majeski trying to get around Fredrickson.
Yeah, correct. That's exactly what it's gonna be. So I don't think it's a direct correlation, but I think there's going to be the collateral damage of the 5 and the 11 being buddies is going to help the 20 a lot.
Well, it could be, okay, Bell's faster. Okay, hey, go by. You're much faster than me type of thing. But like you said, if Hamlin's coming by, all right, you're going to earn this, bud.
Yep. He's got nothing to lose until Phoenix.
Oh, absolutely.
And so speaking of Phoenix, I got one final question on the Cup Series now. Final thoughts. So now that my champ has locked himself in, does he just, from a team perspective, do you just throw these next 2 weeks out and are you strictly working on that Phoenix car? I mean, obviously they're not going to, but I guess what are you guys' thoughts on the team's prep? Are you just, hey, let's just take Chase Elliott's setup. He's running for, owner's points or whatever. We'll take his setup. The 5 team, we're working on Phoenix. I guess, what are your guys' thoughts on the 5 teams approach the next 2 weeks, knowing they're locked in?
Homestead, expect them to run good. Martinsville, expect them to ride. Just because I think that Homestead car is 90% of the way done already, even before he won. Just with how schedules and setups all go with that. I would expect him to still be competitive at Homestead. Martinsville, I wouldn't be surprised if he just rides around.
I think he's going 50-50 every week or the next couple weeks here. They're 50% getting the car ready to go race the racetrack we're going to, but they're also 50% dialing in and they're doing the nut and bolt check.
Yep.
On every single piece of that Phoenix car, that they're 2 weeks ahead of these other teams who are going to be literally racing for their lives.
Make sure that thing is perfect.
Correct. That's where I think it's going to be a 50-50 split of,
yep.
Hey, we finished up our prep for Homestead this week just a little early. Let's touch on that Phoenix car a little bit. Let's make sure that this is tight. Maybe let's look over our data. Let's make sure springs are right and camber, and
let's put a little more sim time at Phoenix and
Yep. Absolutely. So I think I'm not going to say they're not going to give up because we're going to touch on a little bit. Dude won the Homestead race last year. But they're going to spend more time on that Phoenix car because they're locked in.
Well, and who's to say too, again, let's, theoretically, let's just say he wins those next 2 races. That's 2 races that he takes away from those playoff guys to lock themselves in and keeps that points battle going.
Yep.
I'm gonna give myself a better chance of knocking somebody good out.
Yep. Yeah, you're gonna bury some of these other guys who maybe one of these races they get caught in an incident or they just struggle really bad.
Again, especially with how close they are.
Yeah. I mean, Willie B is only 9 to the good, and we all picked him in our final 4. So 9 that's not comforting by any means.
I'll also say this right now, just to throw this out there. If there's a guy that I feel like is going to end up dropping out of top 4, it's got to be Truex. I'm sorry, bud, but I think it's Truex. And I think Bell would hop over him.
I don't think so.
Don't think so. If that were to happen, that would be my call. Bell swaps with Truex. Just because you got to throw that conversation out there.
I mean, I could easily see it happening.
No.
Bell's been hot.
No.
I mean, he's been.
Yeah. No.
Bell's been running well.
You're over there like, God damn it, why'd you have to bring this up?
God, shit. I could see it
But-
happening for my sake. He's my champ, so no, we're good. We're gonna rip it.
Can't go back on your statement.
New, my ride or die at this point. But all right. Any last final thoughts there on the cup race before we kind of touch on one other kind of weekend recap?
Ready for Homestead. I mean, as always, it's
Yeah.
guys are going to be nervous once they leave there, and it's going to be a good chance to make somebody's day.
Sweet. So let's
not to divert before we get into it. I was just looking at the race. Good race. Yeah, I'm gonna get a sidetrack one more time. But Alex Bowman wrecks out and whatever. But what does Rick Hendrick do with Alex Bowman?
Well, I don't remember how long his contract runs for. Like that's going to be, obviously you got to take that into consideration when, when you have that conversation about somebody.
I don't know.
But he's somebody who's had a pretty underwhelming year.
Yeah, but he also missed a lot of time with that sprint car accident.
So,
But does that also play into it?
so just of note here, I was able to find it on the old tweeter here. This February, he signed a multi-year contract extension to remain with the team.
Okay.
So
we're talking at least 2 years. Or at
Well, I
least
guess-
more than 1 year. Yeah.
I guess good thing that he signed it before this year because wow.
Yeah, the same can be said about the 9.
talk about an underwhelming year. Also, that reminds me here. Let's see if I can find it. I was good. Let's take a look at the owner's points and see where he was at.
Oh yeah, because he's still alive for that title yet.
Yeah. That's the only reason why that's even in existence is because of the him being in it.
That's where you can pretty much guarantee yourself every live broadcast every weekend they're going to mention it at least once.
He is currently. Oh God, I gotta do math here. Let's just say it's not looking good.
Ooh,
He has 61 points back from advancing right now.
yo.
How do you know you're not a math guy? When math comes up, it's just not looking good.
You can tell I went to school for engineering.
You're not a math guy. You're not a math guy, but it's also just not a good situation. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah, 61 points is what we're looking at right now as far as the deficit back to 4th.
Ouch.
If we're curious, currently it's the 5 team, 24, 11, and 20 in the top 4. The 45, 12, 17, and 9 are the bottom 4.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
If we were at all curious.
Well, they mention it every week in the broadcast. Put that on your bingo card. I'm still running for the owners championship, but he's not in the playoffs. It's like no one cares. They don't. They crown you the champ of the owners, but they don't. It's what it's. It ain't the same.
And I guess from that standpoint, like sure, it's all about the drivers, but this is where the money comes from too. It's the teams really do care about it because that's where that money comes from. So that's why it's so important for like Hendrick, for example, that all 4 cars do well because that's just more money that's feeding into them, versus just having 1 or 2 cars in it. RFK, they're 2 cars in the top 10, so they're probably going to be raking in a little bit of money coming from that point fund.
Yep.
So that's why it's so important.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying it's a different feel than the driver championship.
Yeah, you mentioned owners. Like, what the hell is the owners points championship? And then the question is too is, well, why is it different? Wouldn't it line up? Not really. For example,
for sure. All right. Well, hey, I mean, we covered everything on the NASCAR side. That was everything from the race to owners to the whole situation. Let's kind of change gears. we're gonna stay on the asphalt. We're gonna go back short track racing here, super late models. This past weekend you had race number 9 for the ASA Stars National Tour running super late models. Wow, Winchester 400, and we've got some storylines. What a whirlwind. And even it starts with just Majeski teaming up with Michael Hind, running one of his cars. Unfortunately for him, that didn't go well. 20, what did they say? He made it 26 laps, I think.
I think 26.
Yep, 24, 26. Motor issues, done for the day. That being your national tour point leader. Yep. So he had, when you looked at it 2 or 3 races ago, you would think Majeski's got locked up. Now, with the projected, or what we're seeing and hearing and reading and figuring out, that Majeski's only gonna have an 8-point lead going into Nashville for the All-American 400 for that final race of the year with the Stars. So kind of a few other storylines that go with this. Just kind of touch on them one at a time. Majeski's teammate in quotations, Michael Hind, has transmission issues. He's done early. Albert Francis, dudes run all the national tour stuff. I felt like every time we turned around, there was a stretch. He was spun around in turn 2, middle of turn 2, pointing the wrong way.
He actually looked pretty good early on.
He did. And he had a rocket early off, but he just fell off so hard.
Yeah. The long runs are what hurt him. He definitely had a short run car.
And the crazy part is he builds his own motors for that car. So that's an interesting. Yeah. They did a little preview on him before the race started. They did like when they were waiting for the stream to start, they did a little like in-shot preview, and he builds his own motors for that car. So everything from the heads to assembly to all that stuff, he does all the maintenance on the motor side of things. So that was kind of cool to see. Kind of an interesting one is Bubba Pollard, 3rd in the points, doesn't show up. Interesting.
Too busy podcasting.
He's too busy trying to catch up to what we got going on, is what it comes down to.
Too busy trying to get BSing with Bubba going. So
yeah, he saw
bigger fish to fry than the race that he's running 3rd in the points for, or the series.
Fourth in points.
Yeah, well,
looked it up
here nor there, because he saw the Tuesday track talking. He go, holy Christ, we got to get that figured out. Kind of the last little one before we get into the big one. Gregson, guy gets back in the super, running his what we come to find out is going to be a snowball derby car, and I can't even begin to tell you how to pronounce the guy's name. Riding around, gives the guy the top, the guy hooks him and fences him. Knocks the rear end out of it, transmission's wrecked, drive shafts out of it. I mean, just wrecked the car. The guy gave him the lane. He got hooked. He even said in the interview, Gregson was like taken back. He's like, I don't know what happened. We got fenced. We're going to try to get this thing back together for the Derby. Yeah, so gave a guy a lane, gets hooked. But kind of the last big storyline, and there's a few of them that go with that, is obviously the finish. You got, and if you follow short track racing, asphalt short track racing, you're going to see the video post race. You're going to see the last 2 laps. Was Ruggiero out of line on the move he made going into 2 on that restart?
He was definitely I felt like, but watching where the guys were running throughout that race, he was a half a lane higher than where they were running side by side, I felt. And he never touched Nace, to give him the benefit of the doubt. Never touched him, drove in hard, pushed Nace up into the dirty stuff, and that's where the story ends pretty much with that. I don't know. It's hard racing. I don't know. I think he still had the advantage. It could have raced not cleaner, but could have ran a different line and still made it interesting there coming at the end.
True. I mean, obviously he was going to drive it in there hard,
Oh,
but
yeah. Both of them were going to.
yeah, absolutely there was. And you were going to think Nasty wasn't going to lift on the top there to try to get it done and carry the momentum on the backstretch to try to clear, which then you give him a shot to give you a shot to finish the race. But I don't know what to think on the corner. It was he half a lane up? Yep, he was, but it's a crown jewel at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's a big race regardless.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
Nationals Tour race.
So is what you're saying is you're okay with doing stuff like that just based on the event?
No, I'm going to say I'm not okay with it. I'm going to say it's a young racer leading a crown jewel.
He rode a very, very fine line.
He rode a
what's
fine
right
line,
and what's not.
In my opinion, he stepped over it just a little bit. Now, he could have housed them. He could have let him go by, and he could have just housed them and said,
Sure.
toodaloo, and he could have just taken the race.
Did the full 8 wheels is better than 4.
Right, for sure. And he could have let him go by, and he could have gave him the chrome horn. He could have left reared him and drove on by and called it a day. Waited till turn 4 to do it, but I don't know. He stepped over it a little bit, but it wasn't super egregious, I would say. Because at the end of the day, that 51 car came back in one piece. They're going to put a new body on it, check alignment, all that other stuff. And it'll live to see another day, but he stepped over it a little bit, I'd say.
Yeah, I think he I was from the standpoint that I thought he's running the lane up. And I guess this is where we get to short track racing is that okay, not okay? Racing for the win? I guess you make the call.
Well, I mean, finish your thought and then I got something.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I thought he definitely drove it in there a lane higher, and he obviously drove it in deep, and I don't know.
So,
I guess the moral of the story is he didn't punt him, whatever. I think it's okay, but again, we go back to the earlier conversation of these drivers keep a mental bank of who does what. So to think that Nasty's going to race him the same ever going forward.
He made a point in the post-race interview. Yeah, he noted that he said it's not like we're never going to run on the same racetrack together again.
Yeah. So I thought he did run it in there a little bit higher, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, we've seen a lot worse than what could have been done. Ran him up the track a little bit, and you can understand Nasty's frustration, but again, ran him up a little bit. Do I agree with it? I guess I would say, am I okay with it? Yes, because it's better than the alternative. He really could have ran him up there and ruined Nasty's day, but I don't know. So,
side note on that, going back to the owner's point side of things where, all the money's at, Gio Ruggiero is currently 3rd in that aspect, pretty much lines up with the driver standings. So could be some payday going into that at Nashville as well. One of the points that I wanted to make though, when I interrupted you, was how does this compare? And kind of going back, getting a comparison in there, especially with something I think we're all familiar with, Hamlin and Larson at Pocono. Like, how do we compare it to that situation? With running a little bit higher line to push a guy up. Just compare, not even in the argument. Like, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I think it's a similar situation. If not, I think almost identical. You got two guys that
Yeah.
run them up the racetrack. They don't ruin their day, but
One guy comes out and the other one doesn't.
the other guy's day's effed. And so I think it's a similar situation. And again, I think it's better than the alternative. He could have ran him higher. He could have really doored him and ruined his day. So, I mean, it's better than the alternative. But again, I think going back to it is, again, Nasty will never run Ruggiero the same.
Sure.
You want to try to get around me? I am going to make your life miserable. If you're in the lead and you got a chance to think I'm going to do it 100% clean, Nasty ain't going to do it. So it's give and take. I think it's the same situation. And it makes for good storylines. And I guess it makes for good racing.
True.
I one more topic before I think we really jump into the elephant in the room. Colt Butcher ran a good race. Probably was going to win that race under some circumstances, but man, could he not keep that car off the wall?
Dude, there was twice that he scuffed up that right side. I'm like, oh, he's done. He bent something. He bounced it off the wall and he kept his right foot in it the whole way.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised that car came home, honestly.
For sure. And your biggest concern, especially at a track like that where you have such a high speed, your concern like that is you have a tire going down.
Yeah.
And you don't know
wreck hard.
Yeah, going into 3 or going into 1, you can wreck pretty hard, and we've seen that even up here with like Majeski at Madison.
Oh yeah.
Same scenario. He backed that car into the fence, and that was
a lick.
you're along for the ride, especially. And then you look at these guys; they all have the 4 barrels on there, and they're humming along.
Yep,
they're hauling off into 1 and 3. So it could have been a lot. I'm surprised that car held on the way it did, especially on how he pounded the fence twice so hard.
Yeah.
So that was almost like Chastain like there the first time.
Yeah, sometimes you get to the point where it's just like you got a decision to make. Either I'm gonna just try to save it as much as I can, or I'm smashing the gas. And sometimes just get on the throttle pedal and let her eat.
Yep.
Keep that are only 2 options after.
William Swalich, I'm starting to become a little bit a fan of him. He's putting some good races together now, and being a Midwest guy too. I'm kind of getting to be a fan of him. He finished 4th. Dakota Strutt put in a good effort. He's been kind of fighting for one of those 400s for a while. He had a 5th place effort. Logan Bearden, Chase Berta, another local guy. He had a good run in 7th. And Austin Nason, he keeps just finding a way to keep himself in the mix.
Like the dude, and he struggles early, but these longer races, especially with these stars races, these longer races, it just when he's not good, he's not afraid to bring it down and let the boys work on it.
Yeah.
And bring it. Yeah, we got 3 cars behind us, and we're still on the lead lap. Bring her down. Let's work on it. Let's make an adjustment. Good
make
for
a
him.
Good adjustment to make some ground.
Yeah, and good for him. Again, another solid top 10 finish for a guy that we've seen a lot around the Midwest, but a little less now with this Stars deal
going on. Yep.
Yeah, he's committed to that whole deal. So that's good to see him inside the top 10 because he was deep there for a while.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see what he does at Nashville with how well he ran there last year before damn near flipping that thing over late in that race there. I mean, nobody had ever seen a super late model almost blow over like the old 87 NASCAR cars, but holy cow, that thing almost blew over.
It just picked it up and set it right back down. Yeah.
Yikes. You want to talk about a pucker factor?
Yeah, dude. But no, it's good to see that. And obviously we have up here, you have Majeski from around here that's run really well. But again, it's good to see another for us, a Midwest tour guy, or
You
has
got to
been a
go for the
Midwest tour guy.
Midwest guys a little bit.
Yeah, that he's run well with this national tour. So yeah, pretty cool. But I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room. So obviously you got one video with the green white checkered turns 1 and 2. You also have the other video of what we come to find out is Stephen Nassie's dad, who was on the racetrack. Ruggiero goes to spin that car around to celebrate the race, and he catches him with that deck. I was surprised ASA didn't come up with something sooner. We just found out, what, 3 hours ago?
Yep.
It was about 3 hours ago. They handed down some penalties. But when you see how that altercation played out, what are your initial reactions to how everything happened?
Well, first off, glad that nobody was hurt. Let's point that out.
Yeah,
Glad nobody was hurt in the in the whole deal. I think Nassie obviously made it a point that he was not happy. I mean, he pulled up, gave him the old number one, telling him he was number one there on the front stretch, and I think he was going to go over and talk to him about it. I don't think it was going to be physical by any means, depending on how Ruggiero probably took it. But that whole situation with Ruggiero spinning that car and hitting his dad was what, I mean, that you want to talk about lighting the fire in the fuel. I mean, that just sparked it, and all hell basically broke loose from there. So, it comes down to, should certain individuals be on the track? Do they need to keep them away from cars? Do situational awareness from the drivers? I mean, there's all kinds of factors into it. Just not a good look on anybody's point.
Yeah, so I mean, after the race, I'm totally okay with him, Nassie, pulling up and giving him the number one and showing him his displeasure. And I think he did want to, have it out or not, say his piece and let him know. And I think he said after the race, like, he acted a little bit out of emotion, whatever he wishes he would have handled it a little bit better. But that's where we draw the line in racing, and we're okay with it. If you want to give a guy number one, do it, pull up to him.
That's promo video right there.
Yep. Show your displeasure. And then after the race, go up to him, speak your piece, let him know that you're not happy, and let's not brawl. Let's not, whatever. And let's leave it at that. If you guys leave both pissed off and couldn't come to an agreement, well, it's going to make for some good racing the next time you guys get around each other. But yeah, okay with that part. And Ruggiero spinning that car around, did he not see his dad there? Or
he was so kind of to my point. This is since I watched the video, because when I watched it live, obviously I was at home, but when I watched that live, you kind of saw him right in the corner get clipped, and you saw him go down. But it was almost like one of those moments when you just sit there and you're like, did that really just happen?
Did I just see what I thought I saw? Yeah.
Right. You kind of like doubt yourself, but you're like, did I see what I thought I saw? But in the same sense, like, this is where I've kind of debated it the last couple of days, or at least since I've seen it. Should Nassie's dad been on the track with that car hot? Probably not. He was fired up. He probably shouldn't have been there. But at the end of the day, Ruggiero pulled up and went by him with that car, and he obviously saw him either through the windshield or out the door, right? Like, you got to have a little more situational awareness both ways. He's a 17-year-old kid. He's going to be excited to win that race. You got to know that he's going to want to burn it down.
Yep.
Okay, fine. But in the same sense, like, his dad probably should have waited until he's out of the car or the car is not running especially at that point when there's so much emotion that's gone into what is an absolute marathon of a super late model race. So
And
I haven't decided which one it is in my mind yet, but they're both at fault to a certain extent.
And I think, I guess the video that I watched, it made it look like his dad was walking from the front of Ruggiero's car.
Yeah, like they were almost kind of going by each other.
Yeah. And maybe he didn't see him, but I thought I'm like, when I saw it, I'm like, either you would have saw him out your windshield or you would have saw him out with the window net down. You would have saw him out the window. And when he spun it around, I'm like, thank God Nassie's dad did not get hurt.
That was a hard hit.
And you think about it, put him flat on his back. He hits his head hard enough on the concrete on the track, and
we're having a whole different conversation.
So to your point, racing as a whole, we probably got to do a better job of keeping people where they belong. And
yeah, right. And that, I think, again, another angle that you have to know that the Stars officials have to know that it's going to get a little bit heated. When he roughed them up right away, you knew there was going to be something going on.
Yeah. So racing as a whole, like with a car running, I mean, it's part of Nassie's dad, with a car running, going out there and, whatever, somebody that you're both heated.
Yeah.
But there's just no place in racing for that.
And it's like, I always think too, with like when the, NBC cameras are out there getting their victory lane or the burnout shots, it's like, man, you're getting awfully close to that race car.
Dude,
you don't know how that sucker's going to
guys,
slide. And
even some of those guys that do that for a living, it's like, dude, you're right up in there. You can't see anything in the smoke, and you're in there with that camera just giving her hell.
Yeah. So I think it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. I mean,
I was trying to find the video, and it's either there's no good angle or the video is like it's 2 seconds too late as far as like seeing what direction his dad came from.
Yeah.
I think it's twofold. Like, part of that's driver, and like you said, I'm sure he was fired up because obviously
a big race,
a huge win. But golly, I mean, between race officials and people on cars, like, we cannot be having that happen in short track racing.
No. And Van Grol, you snapped the group right away and just said that was tough look.
Yeah.
Yeah, a knee-jerk reaction, that's a tough look, and you never want to see, especially somebody go down with a race car like that. So
yeah.
So kind of in light of everything that went on, ASA, and I made a note of it in there that ASA didn't come out with anything. Well, I stand corrected. They did come out today and they leveled penalties against both drivers. So
dude, there's no way he didn't see him.
Oh, you're looking at the video.
His dad was right to the left of the window. Unless was direct.
Oh yeah, you got that one. Well, so like my thought is, because I think he still had the helmet and whatnot on. So who's to say, if he's straight left of me here,
he's in a blind spot.
Correct.
True.
And you're not looking at the mirrors, right? So
yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but this collectively was not great.
Yeah, on again, on all parties.
Yeah. So looking at it, so here's what ASA Stars came out with for penalties. So Gio Ruggiero, he got a loss of 25 finishing position championship, owner, and driver points. $3,000 fine, and he's on probation for the remainder of the calendar year with ASA. So basically 25 points and $3,000 in both divisions there for owner and driver.
For Donnie Wilson, let's just
Yep, Donnie Wilson, yep. Stephen Assey, Here's what Nasty ended up with: a loss of 44 finishing championship owner and driver points, so nearly double 44, a fine of $4,500, and then he's been placed on probation for all ASA events in the remainder of that calendar year as well. So, in addition to that, 4 individuals connected to the number 51 team have been suspended for the remainder of the ASA Stars National Tour season, and they are placed on probation for the first 3 races of 2024. So the suspension includes pits, garage, racing surface, and spotter stand. So not even allowed on the property.
Stands is about the only place you're allowed. General admission.
Yep, your $20 ticket, just like you and I.
Yep.
So, I mean, ASA basically came out and said with a checkbook, we're not going to stand for this. So,
so if we're going to I'm assuming we're kind of going to break down the penalty a little bit too.
yep.
I'm going to start with the 4 individuals. I agree. It's, at that point, I think we said it before with other fights that have come up. It's driver and driver. As soon as you get crew members involved on one of the opposing drivers, that's an issue. Just can't have it. So I think, and obviously, tempers are hot, especially after what happened. Guys are storming, all that jazz. So I agree with I'm okay with the 4 individuals. Last race, probation, all good there. I kind of question the Ruggiero and Nasty penalties and the difference in those, just because I don't think Nasty himself really initiated it. It was his crew, family, whoever it was that initiated the whole thing. Did he pile on? Absolutely. But
no. Well, I think the hard part is, and I think we've seen this in other instances, and especially like you look back at it a couple of years ago with Bobby Pierce and Tyler Erb at the USA Nationals. They get together, they run into each other under caution in lap 4. You got crew members involved. At the end of the day, the racing world makes it known that the driver is responsible for his crew. So there's got to be a level of understanding for them that, to some extent, and they're not going to control everything, but to some extent, crew also has to know that something happens, their driver's going to get punished for what they do as well.
I almost think, and I don't know how the points penalties and dollar amounts are figured out, but I almost would have thought that the points penalty would have been the same as Ruggiero, but the fine would have been heftier because of the 4 individuals.
I would agree. Yeah,
so
I would agree.
I'm almost okay with the dollars. It's the points that really throws me off. It's like, again, you're not dumping anybody. The points are more on track incident, and then the fine is the off track after race incidents.
Correct. Yeah, so, I don't know. It was drastically different. That was the part that I was like, wow, Nasty really got double what Ruggiero really did, and Ruggiero per se hit somebody with his car.
Which again, I think that's as we said, it's all, you don't know the entire story and what, who saw what and all that, especially angle wise. So I mean, and I'm sure ASA's got the same thing. It's, you can't, really hammer down on who saw what.
Make your justification one way or another. Yeah. But
it's either way, you were involved, $3,000. Same thing for Nasty. You got an extra 15 because of the 4 people that were involved.
Yep. For sure. So, as I said, when we were planning this episode, I even wrote in there, ASA didn't get involved, ? Well,
they got involved.
They got involved and they were covering all their bases. So I think they were, in a sense, taking some time to process what had happened and make sure that they were making appropriate calls in accordance with their own rule book. So, they stated their rule in the penalty as well. If you want to really read into detail, Racing America put it out. Well written.
ASA also has it on their website.
Yep. Yep, both of them have put it out well stated. So
Side note
kind of
as well, talking about like the emotions going on with Nassie, he's not exactly had the greatest year either. And he comes that close to winning a pretty good race, and especially Winchester for that. Obviously I'm sure he was definitely a little more frustrated than he probably would have been, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I mean, that was another
well,
point that I kind of brought up quick too.
and that had crossed my mind. The more I thought about it, is he was a guy that was committed to run the national tour, start to finish.
Yep.
He runs decent down at Five Flags to open the season. He comes up to Madison up by us,
Just
and he was a
dumpster.
He was a brick in the ocean. Like, you dropped him in, and he struggled, and he didn't even get a provisional to get into the feature. So
Yeah.
he came all the way up here, and they said, "Sorry,
Sorry.
not sorry. You're not the guy." So, but in the same sense, again, you got the Midwest Tour running with stars. So there was 2 provisionals for the Midwest Tour, 2 provisionals for the National Tour, which the 2 series running together is a whole nother conversation in itself.
Yep.
A little insider intel.
Yep. We'll maybe discuss at a later time.
Yep. Once we have some more insight, that becomes what is known. But yeah, I think after that Madison deal, I think he maybe was a little bit frustrated with the deal, going, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
So
and it might be even kind of a let's regroup, let's run some races down south still, go from there.
Yeah. Kind of last little bullet point on Winchester here before we kind of go ahead and jump into some weekend previews. Obviously a lot of emotions run high. You have race cars in tech, and you have 2 haulers for Donnie Wilson with, in quotations, slashed tires, we will say. Both the 22 and the 28 both having flat semi-hauler tires in tech. So again, quite the move. Very interesting take. Too far, not too far. I don't know. I think that you crossed the line there, but
Cam, you've got a good expression. I'll let you go first on that one.
Let's see who's got the hot take here.
I love it. Somebody's playing chess when they're playing checkers.
Yikes.
Hold up. Are those cars in tech? You got it.
Oh my God.
I love it. Somebody's playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. Wow. I mean, in all reality, no, that's too far. That's not okay.
But at the end of the day, we know that's not nasty because he's in tech.
Somebody from his
who's
team.
To say, and that's maybe where a couple of the 4 individuals came in.
But yeah, at the end of the day, he also Ruggiero and Donnie Wilson. It wasn't like the crowd was like, "Hell yeah, he won that race. Woo!" Oh no. He got booed out of the place, and you could listen to it on the live stream too. So
I mean, Christ, even again, nasty. I mean, he's got a reputation behind him, but even he had some cheers going for him.
Yeah. And honestly, for as hot as that was there for a little bit, his interview, I was expecting him to be like fired up.
He was calm.
He was calm, cool, collected. He said, I've been young and dumb. I've done some dumb stuff, and I've run some people over, and I've done that. But he just basically said, it's not like we're never going to run the same race together again. So I'm just going to keep that in the back of my mind.
Yep.
I just so we're clear, I'm not okay with the slashing of the tires. And I don't know who did it, but you'd have to think, as hot as somebody on Nassie's team was and how hot Nassie's team was, you'd have to think. Again, total assumption, don't know who did it, but would lead you to think somebody on that team said, "Oh, yeah, you guys want to play games? I'll play games."
Like,
But hey, all I know is on the pit crew, if we ever get back to the hauler and the tires are slashed, I'm the gas man, dude. I'm watching the tire changer change
well,
those
I guess I'm shit out of luck then.
Yeah, I'll spec
Well,
that.
hey, at least I got my Jackman with me here too.
Dude, I'll throw if our hauler's tires are ever slashed, I'll be sure that puppy's full of gas.
uh, my 2 cents here real quick. You know, if it was just Ruggiero's hauler, you know, I think it would have been pretty obvious who it was and everybody would have had a thought. But the Nancy
Yeah.
team could have said, oh, I don't know what happened, played it dumb type of thing. But when you
Yeah.
get two haulers involved, it's like, okay, come on. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta be smarter than that. And
Yeah.
especially Butcher, who had nothing to do with it.
No.
Like,
He finished
guys are
second.
trying to, them guys are probably trying to go home. You know, leave them guys alone.
Yeah.
Keep it with who you got a beef with.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that was the Butcher one was definitely way too far, but yeah. So
And that was probably the nail in the coffin for them couple of guys.
for sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, that was, I mean, what was a wild 400 laps at Winchester for the Stars ninth race of the year.
Stole the headlines on the weekend.
Yeah, for real. They really did. So let's kind of go ahead and look into what do we got coming up here for the coming weekend. Van Grohl, I know you got a doozy. I can say the same. I'll let you go ahead and preview this one.
Well, the Alive for 5. So I'm bringing this one back because the last time I wore this T-shirt, they got rained out that weekend. So I'm going for the all for naught here still as far as my T-shirt wearers go. So this is still try number 1. But they Alive for 5 at Dells. They're gonna have their rescheduled race from previously for this. We're gonna have twin 75 feature races to wrap up the Alive for 5 season. I've always enjoyed this at the Dells. They always bring in a good car count, good crowd. Always put on a lot of good racing too. So I'm excited for that. Entry list came out here a couple days ago or yesterday. Real
Weather should be
stout
good.
field, 33 cars. Couple guys, and this is the last hoorah really for the Midwest as far as races go for the year. So it's, hey, let's run her one more time before we drain everything out of it and close her up for the weekend. So Luke Fenhouse, he's your current points leader, 4 wins on the year. So he's won every time they've come out so far. Recently crowned Midwest Tour champ Gabe Sommers, he's 26 points back, and Johnny DeAngelis is 35 points back. Definitely going to be 3 guys to keep an eye on this weekend as far as being favorites. DeAngelis, he won, looking back at last year, DeAngelis, he won the first twin feature. Max Kaler won feature 2, which he can come out here every once in a while and put on a good race.
He was quick for Midwest Tour at the Dells too, for Jim Sauter.
Yeah. Yep. Litchfield, Mike Litchfield, he's always a guy you got to keep an eye out for when they're racing out there. He's really good at both the on the super late model side, but also the pro late model side. They will not be racing this weekend, but it'll just be the super late. So he'll be somebody else to keep an eye out for. And then obviously Sommers, he was last year's Alive for 5 champ as well. So going to be good. Weather's looking great this weekend. It'll be nice and cool. So I bet you times are going to be pretty quick. So going to be a good one especially with it being a day race, green flags at 2:00. I'm excited. It's going to be a blast. And
Yeah,
especially to wrap up the year.
We'll have 2 guys there for a lot of
2
us.
boots on the ground.
Yeah, you and I'll be there. So, but no, I mean that's a good season wrap up for a lot of guys. I mean, you got Casey Johnson coming out to run again too. So, a lot of guys have come on and said this is going to be the last run for the year. So, it's going to be a wicked race.
Another side note with that too. This is also the championship race for the Midwest Truck Series.
Yep.
Little side note there. So James Swan, he's looking to wrap up another championship coming in. No, this is going to be another good one of those of, who can come in and kind of steal a show here. Let me actually look here real quick and see if I can find it on the fly here. Daniel Bain, she comes out every once in a while. She ended up winning this race last year, so.
Yeah,
But
if
no,
you remember for the Midwest Tour, we had that wicked wreck in the truck race.
yeah,
I mean, we had a wicked wreck. The truck hit the wall head on, lifted up off the ground, and they wrecked hard, probably 6 or 8 trucks. So not that you want to see that,
yeah,
but it's a little bull ring. There's going to be some tough racing going on.
yeah.
So
Some other notables, Lowell Bennett's going to be there. Casey Johnson, I'm excited to see him come back. I think these shorter races are kind of playing in his favor now for a little bit.
yeah,
Johnny DeAngelis, Paulie Schaefer's on the list. Holding my breath on that, but hoping he's there. I always like watching him race.
in the trucks.
Oh yes, correct. Yes, he's going to be in the trucks.
Yeah,
Let's see who else we got here. Max Kaler's going to be there. MG Gajewski, old Jeffy Storm, good YouTube follow if you're looking for some content there. Ty Fredrickson, the kid, see what he can do coming off of a solid second place finish at Lacrosse.
yeah,
Jordan DeVoy. The old man's coming out of retirement again. He just couldn't stay away. Richie Pickle's running too. So
yeah, coming out of the woodwork, baby.
no, again, always ends up being a great race, and it's gonna be a great way to wrap up the season.
Sweet. Cam, what do you got?
As we always do, wrapping a t-shirt. So repping the USA Nationals t-shirt. So we're going on the dirt side.
The
Lucas
signed
Oil.
t-shirt.
What?
The signed t-shirt.
Oh yeah. I only got 2. The back is nuts. So yeah, I think I got just about everybody to sign the shirt. But we're going to preview Lucas Oil and the Dirt Track World Championship this weekend at Eldora, Friday and Saturday night. I love Eldora, big half-mile track. Everybody's running every line. So we're gonna crown a champion. We got 4 guys running for the champion. We got JD, RTJ, Huddy, and Devin Moran. So those 4 guys going to be duking it out in 2 nights here to crown a champion. So yeah, it's going to be an awesome show. Anytime there's cars at Eldora, it's always a good show. And for perspective, JD won the Dream in June, had a nice run there. RTJ ran 4th, Huddy O'Neill ran 7th, and Devin Moran ran 8th. And then we went back there for another big show in September with the World 100. And then JD ran 2nd to another contender, Hudson O'Neill, who stole the show. RTJ ran 12th and Moran ran 23rd. And I think he might have had a mechanical failure, but no, it's going to be a wild show. And the only 2 guys I allowed to sign the front of the shirt were JD and then RTJ. So those are the only 2 on the front of the shirt. And I think it's going to be it'll be a heck of a show. And the boys are going to leave it all on the track. They were talking about, it was, I don't forget what the segment was on Castro 2 weeks ago. Fast 5 minutes with Ricky Thornton Jr. And when they did like a little 5-minute interview with him, and he just said, when we get ready to go to Eldora, everything will be brand new. So,
I did see, when you say that, I did see he just shook a car down at Charlotte. Was it Charlotte? I believe.
Well, because they're running there in a couple weeks too.
Yeah, in quotations, the car Bob felt good and was ready to go.
So obviously he's going to come with the best of the best, looking to wrap up an insane year on his end. But then you look at Jonathan Davenport, up and down year, but anytime he's got a car on the track at Eldora, you've got to figure he's in the mix. Savvy vet there, but then you even go to Hudson O'Neill. We ride or die on that cushion. So He's gonna be throwing it up there. He was winning the Castro race there in April. Threw it up on the high side, blew a right rear tire. Mikey Marler swung in and won that. So yeah, it's gonna be a wild race. Devin Moran kind of had a year that snuck in there late in the last race there over Overton, but it's gonna be a good show. These three guys, Hudson, Ricky Thornton Jr., JD, all had wild years, and we got 2 nights to settle it and crown a champion. So it's gonna be good.
Yeah, so kind of going on to that, let's, as we usually make picks, who do you fellas have for your 2023 Lucas Oil Super Late Model Champion?
Well, it looks like you're giving me the first pick because I am the rookie when it comes to this whole dirt scene with you guys. So, and I appreciate the offer on that. I have definitely gotten to enjoy the Lucas Oil Dirt Series. They've put on some pretty good races when I've had the opportunity to watch them. I'm trying to get myself more in that dirt scene. No, it's always puts on a good show. And if I gotta pick somebody, boy, you gotta love a guy that's coming in with confidence. I'm gonna nab him from you guys early. I'm gonna go with RTJ.
Okay. Am?
Well, I wasn't gonna go complete bias, even though I'm repping his ranch hat, but I'm picking Jonathan Davenport.
Okay. All right. That's obviously the first two. I'm gonna take the ride or die with the cushion. I'll take Huddy. I'll
And-
take the new deal.
Just out of curiosity, who was your number one pick if you would have gone number one?
Me?
Yeah. Who was your number one pick if you were to go first?
God damn. I don't know, man. JD runs more consistent there. I think it would have to be JD.
Sure.
And I think that's
Yeah.
the story. That's the storyline going into this weekend. You have RTJ, who's had an insane year. Has won damn near every track he's showed up to. So he's had a rocket ship. With the asterisk, he hasn't ran that well at Eldora.
True.
This
And the
year.
points reset.
Correct.
Who are you talking for?
Ricky Thornton Jr.
Oh,
He's won,
RTJ. Sure.
yeah, he's won everything he's showed up to this year or been in the top 3 with the asterisk of Eldora.
Sure.
So it's like he's been hot, like you said, confident in everything he's doing. He's showing up there. You got Hudson O'Neill, who's
Coming
had
off
a heck of a year as well, and he's shown he's got the speed at Eldora. He was leading Castro in April, just won the World in September, so he's going to be a threat. And then you got the savvy vet JD, who every time he shows up there,
Shows up for them crown jewels.
shows up for the crown jewels, runs well, and he's got it dialed in. So
You might be sitting pretty here. You pretty much got your pick that you wanted, and
yeah, but
I'm good
again,
to take Huddy. I'm okay with that.
oh no,
you know,
yeah,
those
100%.
those 3 guys, and I mean, we're even counting out Moran. He's had a solid year too. Kind of, I would say, a little bit out of nowhere. He's had a solid year, but I would say it's going to come down to three out of the 4. I think it's going to come down to the 3 that we just picked. And
Yeah,
look,
for sure.
it's the same
Well,
thing with NASCAR. It takes one thing, one,
You got your power 3, and yep,
and it takes one bad thing. It takes one thing to go wrong.
yep.
And
Well, look at the world. How many tire issues did they have?
yeah,
That's all
Well,
it takes.
Where the
Yep.
hell was it at Knoxville that JD was leading and he wrecked?
yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
because he made his Knoxville comment. Then after that,
yeah.
he made the yeah, yep. So yeah, he was leading at Knoxville and he dumps it. So I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Look,
yeah.
no, nonetheless, it's going to be a heck of a show. And obviously, Eldora is just a great track. You got everybody running anywhere. You got Hudson O'Neill, who's going to be damn near glued to the top, to the wall. And then you got JD, who's always solid around the bottom. he'll go up top if he has to, and then like he did at the World, he goes up top and then he smashes in the right rear. But yeah, it's gonna be a wild show. So if you got time, Friday and Saturday night, you got flow racing, dial it up because
get flow racing for this.
yeah, it's gonna be
Kyle, me and you are gonna be hauling ass home for this one.
Yeah, dude.
You going south, me going north. We're gonna be hauling ass.
yeah.
Trying to get there from the Dells, yeah.
It's gonna be a wild show, and looking forward to it. Last big show of the year, if for Lucas Oil, unless some of these guys might catch some of them at Charlotte, but yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it.
Putting a wrap on the dirt season, as sad as it is to say. So Friday and Saturday night, Eldora, we're crowning a champion. Tune in.
Yep. For sure.
What do you got, Kel?
And last one for the year. We're in the playoffs. I mean, how can we not go back to the Cup Series? Not that we haven't kept an eye on the other NASCAR touring series or the NASCAR Top 3 series. But let's kind of take a look back at Homestead for 2022. Here are your top finishers from 2022. You got Kyle Larson winning the race, Ross Chastain P2, AJ Allmendinger 3, Austin Dillon 4, Brad K 5, Martin Truex 6, Denny Hamlin 7. So you got a handful of playoff guys there that are looking to lock themselves into the round of 4. So interesting dynamic up there. Got Chastain up there last year. You got Dinger. Wow, P3 for him. Pretty solid. Austin Dillon. So now I think kind of looking back this way, let's go ahead and make our picks, and we'll go reverse order on the old fantasy deal. So I'll go ahead and throw it to myself because the three of us had 5 of the same 6 guys. I was the only one that picked somebody different, so it wasn't like we were.
I gained a whole whopping 8 points on you.
Yep, for sure. I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm just gonna come out and say it. MTJ. I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna take my guy. He's gonna get in. He's gonna lock himself in. He ran well there last year. I'm feeling good about it. He's feeling good. He had a tough year last year, I would say, for his standard. Team's feeling good. He's feeling better. Bass Pro Shops 19. He's in. Pick 2. We'll go to
me and Van Grohl tied because we literally had the entire same lineup. So Van Grohl, I'll let you take honors.
All right.
Where your mind's at.
So I've done absolutely no research into this, which could come back to bite me, but also could help me because we know how I get analysis by paralysis by analysis.
Where?
Give me Hamlin.
Oh,
give me Hamlin.
Wow.
I had a thought, and just because I'll let you go first, Cam, and then I'll kind of give you my thought.
You want my pick?
Sure, go for it.
24.
Okay. Byron it is. That's a good pick too. Damn it, I never thought of that.
He doesn't do his analysis.
No, I was actually halfway thinking about Larson because he won this race last year. But going back to our conversation from before, he's already locked in. So how not ambitious, but will he will he be as competitive as he would have been if he didn't win?
Or is he going to be over aggressive to get a position and maybe catch the wall?
Sure. Yep. So,
same thing. Yeah. Same double-edged.
Obviously I'm sticking with Hamlin. I'm going with it.
Sweet.
I'm padding my playoff pick, my championship 4 pick.
Willie B is going to win this thing. He's solid 1.5 mile tracks. He's got a rocket ship. He's solid wherever he goes. And +9, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, he's comfortable. He's just gonna ride around. No, he's not riding around. He's going there to win this thing. So
Okay. All right. There you have it for the NASCAR side of things here. Couple other just to mention them, a few things just to kind of keep an eye on as well as the weekend goes is you got the World of Outlaw sprint cars at the Devil's Bowl. So if you haven't kind of kept tabs on the Dirt World of Devil's Bowl at the end of the year, closing up shop, unfortunately, again, another track we're losing, but they've put together a hell of a purse to bring everybody out there for that feature at Devil's Bowl. So that's kind of a pretty cool deal there to kind of give them a good little send off. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Friday is a 12,000 payday, and then Saturday is $20,023 with it's 19,000, or sorry, not 19, 1,978 to start that race. So honoring the couple of years of opening up in 78 and closing this year. So overall for the 2-day weekend, it's $140,000 in 2-day purse overall. So good chunk of change getting thrown around.
And I don't know if you mentioned, Kel, but that's where the World Outlaw sprint cars started.
Yes.
Was founded. Was
yeah.
at Devil's Bowl. So
yep.
That's where series kind of was founded and took off. And so it's nice to see some other people step up and make it a big payday for one last hoorah. But as we always say, just another reason to get out to tracks when you can.
For sure. One other one to kind of keep an eye on this weekend is you're going to have the Cars Tour at Tri-County. That one you can catch on Flow Racing as well. Yep. I do believe that is as they would call it, the penultimate race of the year for them, the second to last race of the year.
Correct.
So they're coming down on the points hunt there. So as things start to tighten up with them guys, they're looking at getting those few extra points or positions here and there to try to get to that championship. So
couple quick headlines with that. 30,000 to win. Connor Hall, the NASCAR Weekly Series champ, he's coming back to the Cars Tour after taking some time to focus on that. He'll be running. I know why you're laughing. Shut up. Shut up. Here's something that just was announced this week, and this may be the follow-up with our little Winchester deal. Stephen Nasse and Gio Ruggiero are going to be running this race.
Oh, together?
They're both running this race.
Okay, I did see that Nasse posted on Twitter that they got the stuff to go run with the Cars Tour. I didn't see that Ruggiero did, but
yep. So yeah, old Gio Ruggiero is also running this race. Timothy Peters making a comeback into this race as well too. So
yeah.
Couple of headlines going in there along with your regular crowd of drivers.
Yeah.
Golly, man, dude, I hope Camaro can stay on the lead
lap.
God. Dude, race control, what are you doing?
Hey, this is a Dale Jr., Jeff Burton, Harvick, and this is a NASCAR run show here. We damn well better not have any of those issues.
Yeah, no.
I just hope he doesn't go 49 laps down again.
Yikes.
You start swinging at Harvick or Dale Jr., you're going to have another thing coming.
Yikes. Oh, Harvick will come at you, too. He ain't taking no shit.
He ain't afraid of anybody. So, any kind of last little thoughts here, but God damn it, before we kind of wrap this whole deal up for the night?
No, another great weekend of racing coming up. Racing season is coming to a wind. As we always say, make sure you get out to the short tracks, especially as they wind it closer down in the year. End the year off with a bang.
For sure.
No thoughts here. Well, actually, yeah, I always say no thoughts, but I got thoughts. Solid weekend last weekend for kind of what was NASCAR did put on a decent show, but was for kind of a slow weekend by our standards in the racing world. So yeah, as you mentioned, we're getting down to championship season. So there's no give and take now. It's it's got to go. So I'm really looking forward to the Lucas Oil. I really have grown to love the dirt late model scene. So think that's going to be a heck of a show. And yeah, looking forward to Willie B getting another win. And then hopefully we don't have some of the headlines in the short track scene from the Dells that we did from Winchester. So
Or
sure.
continuation in the cars.
Yeah. So no, it's going to be a good weekend. Look to wrap up kind of one of the first series that we've been following along with Lucas Oil. So we'll be crowning a champion there. And yeah, looking forward to a heck of a weekend.
Yeah. So kind of build on your point, Cam, there. With fewer races to watch this weekend, but fewer is an understatement when they say that they mean a whole lot more. So if you're going to get a chance to watch a good dirt late model race, we got guys duking it all for a title. So that's pretty cool. Well, it's been a pretty crazy episode again. Episode 5 brings you everything from NASCAR to National Tour late model racing to what is going to be a Lucas Oil super late model champ. So man, what are you laughing at down there? Come on now.
You got him on a roll.
Can a guy wrap this up so we can get the crowd out of here? Come on.
Got everything covered in this episode, from NASCAR to dirt to short track to 49 laps down and slashing tires, baby.
I was about to say, we better get out of here before we do fall a lap down.
No kidding.
Hey, before you go lap down, no tires, just fuel only, stop.
But no,
all right.
Yeah, it's been another great episode. Always got some guys that got a few controversial takes in some fashion. I think it even fits the t-shirt I got on. A little nasty tonight. So yeah, another great episode. As always, as you guys are kind of looking through these episodes and catching our segments and doing things like that, always like video, always comment your race picks below. Be happy to hustle you a little bit and see what and why and who you picked them for what reason. So always comment any of your race winners below. If there's something you want us to cover or there's a big race coming up, always let us know. But other than that, that puts a wrap on episode number 5. Thanks for tuning in. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys.